Hello everyone, on this episode of Apples to Oranges, games called Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is a 1988 side-scrolling beat-em-up style arcade game originally developed and published by Tecmo. The story is that you have been hired to take down an evil cult, led by a sword-wielding descendant of Nostradamus named Blade Damus. You fight across 5 American-based stages: a Los Angeles-San Francisco-style block, the Brooklyn Freeway, a Las Vegas street, the Grand Canyon, a train yard, and lastly the cult's headquarters. Fighting evil is easy with the range of moves you have. From your main offensive attacks, like the triple combo and the guillotine throw, to hanging on bars and trees to kick your enemies, to even having a limited use sword attack when found. And, in true ninja-like style, you flip and spin in the air from bar to bar. Also, you are quick to roll to your feet when an enemy lands an attack, and only stay down when out of life. Graphics for both you and the enemies are well animated, fairly detailed, and sometimes fill the screen with a large number of sprites. Weaker enemies will get different color palette swaps in later stages and show up in small, easy to manage groups, or sometimes in very large mobs, while stage bosses are larger and can show up in pairs or triplets. Some enemies seem a little too on the nose with their real-life counterparts. Backgrounds, on the other hand, seem to be static images, with the exception of the Las Vegas stage having flashing lights. Sound effects are a bit muffled but fit great with the actions on the screen. The background music is stylistically fitting to the theme of the stage you are on. And just like the graphics, music can sometimes be in that gray area of inspiration. Ninja Gaiden's difficulty is like most arcade games. Easy at the start on that first quarter, with enemies doing little damage, like this log guy hitting you for 1 health point, to always hungry for more at later stages, like this log guy on the last stage now hitting for 2 health points. Continues drop you at checkpoints and not where you actually died on the stage, meaning you may have to replay an area again. Ninja Gaiden is a great arcade game and a classic example of developers pushing the limits of both the hardware and its players. Next, let's look at some of the ports of the arcade version of Ninja Gaiden. The first port we will look at is the 1990 MS-DOS version developed by High-Tech Expressions. As you can see, most of the moves from the arcade version, such as the guillotine throw and hanging kicks, have made it to this port. Controls are clunky with both the keyboard or controller. Jumps and grabs are now on the same button, and enemies have to be right in front of your line of sight for your hits to register. Graphics are not as detailed as the arcade, but different characters do stand out from each other. In CGA mode, the colors are bland and harsh, while the EGA mode has more colors that give it a brighter, more detailed look. Both the sound effects and the music are as basic as it gets. Maybe the next port we look at will be better. This port for the Atari Lynx was developed by Blue Sky Software and published by Atari in 1990. Once again, most of the moves from the arcade version, such as the triple combo, the guillotine throw, and hanging kicks have made it to this port. The controls are snappy but don't have that instant response feel. Jumps to higher levels on the stage were somewhat problematic for us to pull off. Graphics, although not as detailed as the arcade, do allow different characters to stand out from each other. While not as bad as the MS-DOS CGA mode, colors are still washed out and harshly pixelated, but the frames of animation are nicely done. Sound effects can be good, like the sounds of your hits landing on a target, to strange, like the sounds of bodies hitting the ground. Stage music is a scaled-down version of the original arcade soundtrack, and, speaking of stages, the freeway and the Grand Canyon are missing from this port. Ninja Gaiden for the Atari Lynx is a good game, even if some things were left on the cutting room floor. Ninja Gaiden is a side-scrolling platform game both developed and released by Tecmo for North America in 1989. While it does share the same name and has some similar-looking stages and enemies as the arcade version, the Nintendo Entertainment System version is an original game. You play as a ninja named Ryu who is seeking revenge for the death of his father and discovers something much bigger than his personal vendetta. You play across 20 stages, split into 6 acts, with a boss fight at the end of each act. Unlike the arcade Ninja Gaiden sword attack, which has a limited use, you now have a sword attack as your main offensive move at all times. Secondary attacks, like throwing stars and fire wheels, draw from a spiritual strength pool that can be filled back up by cutting down stage ornaments, like lamps and torches, to find refill icons. With amazing control response to button presses and directional pad inputs, the game feels like it almost plays itself. From jumping float-back attacks to no-ladder wall crawls, your hand-eye coordination will get a workout. Even on an 8-bit system, graphics for Ryu and other characters are detailed, with enough colors to stand out from the backgrounds and main stage areas without getting lost during intense platforming moments. Amazingly, the sound effects from 1989 still pack a punch in 2020 and don't wear out your eardrums with harsh tones. The music, from the stage intros to the stages themselves, still give off a great action-based movie vibe. And, by making use of cinematic cutscenes that slowly reveal plot points, Ninja Gaiden raised the bar on in-game story presentations. Balancing difficulty with fun is where Ninja Gaiden's gameplay shines. Enemy placement and stage layouts are challenging, with only a few annoying look-before-you-leap moments. After 30 years, Ninja Gaiden is still one of the best and most challenging games ever made. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, released by Tecmo for North America in 1995 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, is a port of the first 3 NES games. The story of the first game is the same. You play as a ninja named Ryu, who is seeking revenge for the death of his father and discovers something much bigger than his personal vendetta. Jumping from wall to platform to platform, and pulling off the no-ladder wall crawl still feels just as great as the NES version. All of the tight, responsive controls have made it to this port of the game. The graphics have been improved over the NES version, but only to a minimum, such as the addition of more colors to backgrounds and some stage objects. Don't expect the kind of graphical improvements most other games received on their first 16-bit outing. Sound effects and music have been changed to so-called enhanced versions of the originals. The soundtrack is a remixed version of the NES's with stereo imaging and new instruments either added or replaced. The sound effects are close, but some now seem to have an almost harsh edge to their execution. The layout of the stages, the boss fight mechanics, and the balancing of difficulty with fun is also all still there. Overall, the port is good, but it doesn't really take advantage of the Super Nintendo hardware. This port of Ninja Gaiden, named Ninja Ryukenden, was released by Hudson Soft and developed by Tecmo for the Japanese PC Engine in 1992. The story's plot, although told slightly different, is the same as the NES and SNES versions. Like the Super Nintendo version, the PC Engine has enhanced story scenes, higher quality sounding music even if the tracks are different, sound effects, and most noticeably the upgraded graphics. This port is almost 3 years older than the Super Nintendo version, but is visually far beyond what the Super Nintendo displays on screen. Stages have been completely reworked or have added animations giving more life to the areas. Enemies have also received an updated look. But not all things are great, like the scrolling of some backgrounds, which players will either visually block out or worse, feel like taking a ride on the vomit comet. And, although the controls are tight and responsive, Ryu's sword is a tad slower to reset for the next attack, and stage objects for power-ups need a more precise on-target attack to yield their rewards. Some power-ups also have different results than the NES and SNES versions of the game, like the fire wheel and the spin attacks no longer making you almost invincible. Nintendo players will have to make minor adjustments to their playing strategies to accommodate these changes. The sound effects are great, but the replacement music for some stages can be hit or miss. Feeling like more work was put into this version, the pluses outnumber the minuses, making this port a little better than the Super Nintendo's. If you liked this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel. Every click helps. Thank you for watching, and see you. That sounds like shit. Let me do it again. No, I just said it wrong. It's all that manganese.